What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our college football channel. It's time for a reaction here to our preseason predictions in the ACC. We're going to look back at those predictions, see how we did. And I tell you what, the Coastal Division of the ACC was probably my worst division. My predictions were absolutely terrible in that division. It didn't really go how most people expected it to go. But yeah, I missed the mark in the Coastal, I'll admit it, and let's just jump right into it. We're going to start actually with the Atlantic Division. So you take a look at the final records here. Clemson was 10-2, Florida State 9-3, NC State 8-4, Syracuse and Louisville 7-5, Wake Forest also 7-5. Boston College had a terrible season, 3-9. Didn't really see that one coming. You look at how these teams played in one-possession games, and NC State was really good, 4-1 in the one-score games. Clemson was 3-1, but you can see how their seasons could have been a lot worse. Wake Forest could have had a better year, 1-3. You win a couple of those one-score games, and all of a sudden, Wake Forest is 9-3. So let's start at the top and look at the different predictions for Clemson. I had them at 11-1, actually losing to Notre Dame. So if they would have beaten South Carolina, I would have been right on the money. Now, Athlon also had them at 11-1. The over-under for Clemson was 10.5. So I would have missed that because I would have went over. I thought it was more likely that they would go 11-1 than 10-2. A lot of people were preseason not as high on Clemson. You had one group that had them in the playoff. Then you had another group that said this team was overrated and the 2021 season was going to carry over. This was going to be a 9-3, 10-2 type team, and it turned out to be almost that playoff team, but South Carolina ruined that, and then at the same time, you could have had a third loss in there very easily as well. So let's look now at Florida State. I had them at 7-5, so did Athlon Sports. The over/under was at 6.5, and I tell you what, they should probably have been 10-2. I think they should have beaten NC State. You look at, again, 7-5. The predictions here would have been right, at least with the over/under, because I would have gone over, and they did better than I even expected, though, at 9-3. NC State, this was a team that had a lot of hype coming into this year. I had them at 10-2. Athlon had them at 10-2. They had a really nice schedule. The schedule set up really well for them. The over/under was at 8.5. I would have definitely gone over that and would have been wrong because, again, just 8-4 for them. And like I said, it could have been worse. They were 4-1 in one-score games. So you lose a couple of those games, and all of a sudden, NC State's 6-6. Now, losing Devin Leary definitely hurt them. And you wonder where they would have been if he had played all year. Probably would have been 9-3. That would be my guess. They probably would have won one more game if he had been in there all season long. But again, a disappointment for NC State. They finished a couple of games below both my predictions and Athlon's predictions, and Florida State finished 2 games above our predictions. So that's interesting there. You just kind of went a little high on NC State, a little low on Florida State. Syracuse up next. This is a team that I tell you what, I'm not surprised that they went 7-5, even though I predicted them to go 3-9. If you go back and watch my preseason predictions, I said that I felt like Syracuse had a pretty good team. I felt like they were going to be a decent team, a competitive team in the ACC. I just hated their schedule. I just didn't like the way their schedule set up. A lot of tough games on the road, at least looking at it in the preseason. A couple tough games in the non-conference. And so I wound up at 3-9, even though I said this is a team that's probably better than a 3-9 record. But again, just didn't like the schedule. And they wound up being probably better than I even expected. And they were able to win some of those games. Now, some of the teams that they were playing were not as good as I thought they would be. And that's possibly, partly why I think they were able to get to that 7-5 record. But Athlon, they had them at 6-6, so they were a little bit more optimistic. The over/under is at 5. So I would have definitely missed that one because I went under and they went over. Syracuse is a team that I missed by four games. That's one of my biggest misses from my preseason predictions. Louisville's a team that I was high on in the preseason. I had them at 8-4. They wound up at 7-5, so I missed it by 1 game. Athlon had them at 6-6. They missed it by 1 game as well, but they were just on the opposite side. The over/under was at 6.5, so I would have been right there because they did get over that, finishing 7-5. Wake Forest, I had them at 8-4. Athlon was even higher. They had them at 9-3. The over-under was at 6.5, so they beat that. I had them higher than that. Athlon had them higher than that. Vegas just did not like Wake Forest for whatever reason. But they still had a pretty solid season, even though they finished towards the bottom of this division. A 7-5 record is not bad. And again, just one game below where I expected them to be. And then finally, Boston College. I had them at 6-6. Athlon had them at 7-5. The over-under was at 6.5. They definitely underperformed. It was a pretty rough season for Boston College as they finish again 3-9. Quarterback now transferring out of there, so they're a mess. We'll see if they can bounce back next year. But again, a very disappointing season for Boston College. I missed them by 3. I missed Syracuse by 4. Those are really the two big misses. But again, you look at it here, and everyone pretty much missed Boston College. I got to give Athlon some credit, though, with Syracuse. They did have them at 6-6. Not quite exactly right, but still pretty good prediction there. Just one game under their record. So, again, looking at the Atlantic Division, things went pretty close to how we thought they would. Maybe just flip Syracuse and Boston College, and then the predictions would have been fairly accurate. The Coastal Division is a different story. I don't think, our predictions were not even close in this division. Just way off the mark. You take a look at the records. North Carolina won this division. They went 9-3. Pitt and Duke. Yes, Duke went 8-4. Georgia Tech, Miami at 5-7. Virginia, of course, with the tragedy, they didn't get to finish their season. Virginia Tech didn't get to play that final game either. I'm not going to say anything negative about Virginia, though. What they went through is just awful. Condolences to everyone involved there. But they did finish 3-7, and they played a lot of one-score games. Only played 10 games, but they were 2-3. They played five one-possession games. A lot of teams in this division. North Carolina played 8 one-possession games. They were 6-2. They were able to win those close games. That's why they won this division. Pitt played 4. Duke played 7. Georgia Tech played 5. Miami played 4. Virginia Tech played 5. There were a lot of close games. And if those games just go a little bit differently, these standings would look totally different. So this was just a crazy division. It was kind of similar to the Big Ten West. Both of those divisions were wide open. And at the end of the day, North Carolina was able to win those close games, and that's why they won this division. Looking at our predictions for them, I had them at 6-6. Athlon had them at 7-5. The over-under was at 7.5, so I would have missed that one because I would have said under. I didn't really believe in North Carolina coming into this year. Didn't realize how good Drake May was going to be. And that's really what it comes down to. I did not realize he was going to be a star. Knew they would have their issues on defense, and they did. And the run game was not as good as the previous year, but Drake May carried this team, and it's just something I didn't see coming because I had not really seen him play, and so I just didn't know that he was going to be that good, and that's why I missed on North Carolina for sure. Looking at Pittsburgh, I had them at 9-3. They finished 8-4. Athlon also had them at 9-3. The over/under was at 8.5, so I would have missed this one as well. I would have gone over. Now I was kind of close with 8-4, 9-3. Picking this team. I didn't really think they were going to go 10-2. That was not really a possibility, but a 9-3 record. We were close, just missed it by one game as they finished 8-4. One of the few teams that I was close on in this division. Duke. All right, take a look at this. Our prediction 2-10. Athlon 2-10. The over/under 3. This Duke team went out and they went 8-4. I mean, this has to be one of the biggest surprises, biggest turnarounds in the history of college football. I know they didn't really get a lot of attention. They didn't go to the conference championship or anything, but still, what a turnaround for Duke. And you look at the roster in the preseason and just didn't see this coming. From a 2-10 prediction, the over/under at 3, they go 8-4. That just blows my mind. I'll be honest, I didn't really watch Duke much this year. I'm going to have to go back and watch some of their games from this past season and just see what this team was all about. How did they do it? How did they go 8-4? I'll definitely be studying that this offseason. And looking ahead to next year, we'll see, can they possibly do better than that? I mean, hats off to them. Great season for Duke. And I'll be the first to admit, I totally missed their prediction, but I think everyone else did as well. Georgia Tech, I picked them at 3-9. So did Athlon. The over/under was at 3.5. And they went out and went 5-7. Had a pretty good season. Jeff Collins got fired, but they really played better after that. And they finished playing pretty decent football at 5-7. And again, beat my or better than my prediction by 2 games. Now we go to Miami, and you guys know I had them in the playoff. I had them at 11-1. Terrible prediction. This team was not good at all. Athlon had them at 9-3. They had them, I think, winning this division. They were right up there with Pitt. The over/under was at 8.5. So expectations were for Miami to go 8-4, 9-3. I took a chance. I really liked the roster. I liked the coaching staff, but it just didn't come together in year one. That's for sure. Had some injuries that hurt them as well, and they finished at 5-7. And really, they were not. It's not like they lost a bunch of close games. They were 2-2 in one-score games, so their best case scenario would have been like 7-5. So they were nowhere near where I expected them to be. And so look at how bad I was on Duke and how bad on Miami. I'd like to flip those predictions from the preseason. Although 2-10, that would have been pretty rough for Miami. Let's go to Virginia now. I predicted them to go 6-6. Athlon had them at 5-7. The over/under was actually pretty high at 7. If they had been able to finish their season, probably looking at 4-8, maybe 3-9, maybe 5-7. But this is a team that was pretty close to where we predicted them to go. If they could have got to 5-7, they would have been pretty close. But who knows what the record would have looked like. And then Virginia Tech, they were awful this year. This was one of my surprise teams. I had them at 7-5. I thought they were going to be pretty good. Missed the mark on them as well. Athlon at 6-6. The over/under at 6.5. So again, you just look at this division. We missed Pitt by 1 game. Everyone else was not even close. Not even close. So my predictions for this Coastal Division, pretty awful. And again, I just missed the mark. Now, I'm here taking the blame for my bad predictions. But like I said earlier, everybody had Duke struggling. Everybody pretty much had Miami winning this division. And so I don't know if anyone had good predictions in this division. Maybe some had better than me. But I don't think anyone had great predictions because this one was definitely unpredictable. And that Coastal Division was just crazy. So I had Clemson versus Miami. I had Miami winning the ACC championship. But of course, it was Clemson versus North Carolina. Clemson won the ACC. And again, Atlantic Division, fairly close to what I thought it was going to be. Coastal Division, not even close at all. What about you guys? What did your predictions look like? What did you get right? What did you get wrong? Give me your thoughts down in the comments below. Thank you for watching this video, and stay tuned for more here on the SG1 Sports College Football Channel.